So, Tom, so nice to have you in the studio with me today.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I'm very interested to know how you've been doing with your Akashic Records and how you found the 8-week training program that I did with you. And maybe let's just start with what inspired you to take the course in the first place?
Well, what inspired me was I was seeking deeper knowledge about myself and about where my soul's journey had been before this lifetime and how to bring forward deeper insight so I could move forward in this lifetime.
Oh,
And
wow.
it followed on nicely from activating my Merkaba light body, and then it seemed to just pick up pace. And then Akashic Records just like a natural progression to go to the Akashic course.
Yes. And I also think it's interesting because traditionally in your career, you said to me that you are in quite a 3D career, traditionally working, did you say in the engineering world?
Construction.
Oh, sorry, construction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very different world to the world of the Akashic Records, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it did help me though. Once I started to open Akashic Records, it gave me a different perspective on my job and my 3D world. So it gave me a bit more of a broader insight. So I were able to make things a lot easier for myself when I were in lower frequencies. Once I were able to open the records.
That is interesting. I've heard from a couple of people that have had readings from me that they might still be in a very 3D environment in their career. They might be showing up to do all that sort of work, but they are bringing their spirituality into the workplace, not in an obvious way. It's just very much behind the scenes. But like you say, it's helping them to make incredible changes. Some of them are team leaders, and their teams are responding and thriving with the new sort of systems and ways that the people are working. So that makes a lot of sense. Wow.
Well, similar sort of thing to me. I actually, once I opened Akashic Records, I got promoted at my job twice. So it does help a lot. You can use Akashic Records to navigate your way through third dimensional systems and things like that. So it does help a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the 8-week course is the Merkaba level 1 and level 2. And I think that is the key, I find,
Mhm.
to people move up to that level where they can then um, sort of step into their power and live a more magical life. And I noticed that um, the when you raise yourself into the fifth dimension by activating your Merkaba, suddenly it's a lot easier for the record keepers and guides to talk to you and connect with you because you're in a different dimension. So when we're in the third dimension, it can be quite difficult for the ascended masters, the beings of light, or the great beings of light beyond the veil, for them to be able to talk to us because it's very dense vibration, third dimension.
Yeah, I found exactly that. It felt like uh, it was like a rocket ship propelling me up, and my spiritual connection seemed to increase very
Absolutely.
quickly and to a lot. It were a lot clearer after I'd activated my Merkaba. So that was like you say, it's like a catalyst for doing Akashic work. I think it is essential to have your Merkaba activated because it just makes everything, like you said, a lot more clearer to hear things and to connect with spirit.
Absolutely. And yeah, I've tried to work with helping people get into the records if they don't activate their Merkaba. And it's such a bumpy ride that it's very, very difficult for them to make that connection. And I think the Merkaba also helps us with our self confidence a lot as well, because we can understand, we consciously are aware of who we truly are at a soul level when our Merkaba is activated. So it takes out a lot of the guesswork about who we are and that sort of thing. We're still human. We still have our doubts and things like that. But overall, the Merkaba life changing, I find. Absolutely.
Yeah, it does seem to make it a lot easier. It seems like for me, it gave me a bit more of like an higher perspective on a lot of things in
Yeah.
my life, especially third dimensional things that I used to struggle with. You seem to see it from an higher perspective, and then you can have a bit more peace and a bit more leniency with yourself, and then you're a bit more understanding with your third dimensional self in reality because you're seeing it from above rather than just down under your nose like you usually are when you just trying to navigate it from a lower frequency.
That makes sense. I like that you use the lower frequency and the higher frequency, because that is really essentially what it is. What it is, yeah. And since you've done the workshop with me to open the records, how has your understanding of the Akashic Records evolved? I mean, how do you what do you think of the records now?
It's brilliant. It seems to get I seem to learn something new every time I go in and open up my records or somebody else's records if I'm doing it for somebody else.
Yeah,
It seems to progress. Like it's like a progression. Each time you're learning a little bit more, you're getting a little bit of a different insight, or you're speaking to a different being comes through. It's really interesting. It's like there's never a dull moment. You just um you I can't really put into words. It's just magical. It's magical, and it's so good that each and everybody who opens records, they all perceive it in a different way. So there's many different perspectives, and each person who opens the records, they bring a different variety, a different flavor to Akashic Records and how they read their own records and other people's.
absolutely. I've been told by the record keepers and guides that the humans are like have their own filter that they bring forward into the world. And I also noticed that there's different types of Akashic record readers on purpose,
Mm.
because the way the information might be filtered through me, the type of language that I might use to describe something would be different to the way you do, because
Mm.
of your different life experiences. So, what I tend to find is that the people that come to me for a reading, they feel very attracted to have a reading with me personally, and the people that go to you for a reading are very attracted to you because of that exact thing, because they can feel that you will get them and you'll understand their pain, you'll have empathy with what they've been through, what they're going through, and that's it's by design. That's why the record keepers and guides asked me to teach this work in the first place, because it's no good just myself being an Akashic record reader. We need to open up and find the right people to do this work, so
Mm.
the whole world can receive information the way that they need to receive it. So I'm not going to appeal to the majority of people. I'm going to appeal to a set of individuals who will respond to the way I communicate,
Mm.
and likely the same thing with yourself will happen.
Yeah, I see it like a tree root, and each it keeps branching off into different people, and then and so on and so forth. Because, like you said, everybody's got their own energy signature. So, like you just said, my energy signature might help somebody, whereas yours might help a different person in a different way. And it's that's how magical it is, because different people have had, like you said again, different life experiences. So some people can empathize with certain situations compared to others, and like questions as well. So certain people will ask certain questions, and then other people will ask different questions. And I think record keepers and guides guide people with a certain set of questions to certain people, because they know that that particular reader will be able to answer their questions in a way that that other person will understand.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's not like the information is coming from my brain. It's definitely coming from the record keepers and guides. It's just that I'm the filter that they're using to bring that information through. So it's like putting a colored lens onto something, I think. Still that image, but it might just have a colored lens over the top. So yeah.
Mm. That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way.
So tell me, Tom, was there a particular moment during the workshop that you found particularly powerful or transformational for you personally?
Um, there were more than one. The first one was it was like it was the subtleties between my higher self and the Akashic record keepers and guides. That were like a big one for me, learning how to decipher which were coming through at which time. Because when I first started, a couple of times I found myself when I was reading for myself that my higher self were coming in, and that were like I had to like filter that out and just like practice a little bit on that, and then also um, just when you find out where you've been as a soul across the universe, and some surprising planets you've been on, and some beings that you've been and that you've interacted with, it's you don't realize how big it is until you get in there.
Life-changing stuff. Because when you know where you've come from, then it's easier to, it makes a lot of sense, like certain things that have happened in your life and the future, then you're less afraid of your future, because if you've done it before, you can do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yep.
think it does take a lot of fear out of your current situation, because you can go in and from what I've found, there's been like past lives or different planets I've been on where I've experienced things that I can bring through into this lifetime, and I can assist my current situation from my previous lives or parallel lives, however you want to put it. I can bring that through into this lifetime and help myself move forward in this lifetime.
Perfect. That's one of my favorite applications for the Akashic Records as well. Yeah, absolutely. So I might sometimes travel with my Merkaba to a past life and always take Archangel Michael with me, and then discover certain things about myself from a past life. But then if I want further unraveling, then I would open the Akashic Records and say, how am I going to do this differently, et cetera, et cetera. And then I get lots and lots of insights on how to make improvements for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, seem to get a lot of clarity. Then it's like when you're a bit, like you just said, when you're a bit foggy in this lifetime on a certain topic or situation, what's happening, it just brings clarity, and then you just get that peace of mind feeling, and then you can move forward then from that state of peace, instead of like worrying or worry. It might not be worry, it might be something and nothing, but yeah, it just brings a lot of clarity for me in situations.
And that brings me on to my next question. Have you made some big life-changing decisions based on the Akashic Records?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it gave me a sense of purpose and direction, because I knew I was on my spiritual path, and I knew I was here for something. And then wasn't until I opened the Akashic Records that I found out where I wanted to go and where I was supposed to go. So that Akashic Records were a big help in me finding out my purpose. I know obviously it's like that's just the start of it. I know I'm here for a lot more, and it's going to open up like that. But this was like my gateway into where I'm going as a person in this lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. No, that does make sense. Makes sense. And you've got a lot of time ahead of you, nice young man, doing this work at such a nice young age. So I think that the sky's the limit, really. I'm excited to see what you do next and what comes forward for you. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful journey.
It is. Yeah, it's like it's opened up like many different doors that I never thought were possible. Because when you just toddling along in third dimensional reality, you can it's very limited. It feels very limited, and all of a sudden now I feel very expansive. It's like you said, sky's the limit. So I can there's nothing that I can't do. I just keep, try to follow my passions, and when my passions are taking me, being able to access Akashic Records just helps you along that process as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think the guides call it magic. When you follow the magic,
Mm.
then the sky's the limit. You realize how expansive you are and how much potential you hold within yourself. And that was something that the guides told me a while ago. Is they said the reason why the Akashic records have come forward at this time is because a lot of people have forgotten who they are and how powerful they are, and how much potential they actually have within them. And when you have an Akashic record, that can often be opened up. You can find out exactly, who you are at soul level, what your divine blueprint is, what you're supposed to be doing in this lifetime. So yeah, very, very exciting stuff.
Yes, it is, because we wouldn't realize as human beings, because of things like societal programming and such things like that. We don't realize how creative we are. Like the sky is really the limit. We can do anything that we want in this lifetime. It's just knowing what you want and applying ingredients to get you there. And Akashic Records is it's a big one for me, because it's like you've got all information there. It's like you've got your own personal Google for your soul, and then you can just go in and find out whatever you want to find out.
Ah, I do. I love it as well. Makes a lot of sense to me. So, can you think of any one particular surprising moment during your training with me, or anything like that that was really stood out for you?
It was doing the dragon workshop as part of it. That one that blew my mind. That one. just how brilliant the dragons are, and their energy is absolutely awesome. It's massive. It's different to like angelic um energy. I tapped into dragon energy, but not until I did the workshop with you, and then it just opened up again. That's another world in its own, dragon world. So that does help you a lot. It like runs parallel with Akashic Records, and it all interweaves for me anyway. And yeah, that was the big one for me, connecting with dragons on a deeper level.
Yes, I think a lot of people say that about that workshop. They are surprised at how much help and support is available for us when we just reach out and ask for it. Also, another one that comes up with the dragons is that everybody's just surprised at how loving they are. You just receive this overwhelming feeling of love and support, and it's very difficult to describe, isn't it? Because
Yeah, it is.
no, I mean, obviously, we have love from parents and family that's unconditional, and we can see that. But when a dragon comes around you, your personal dragon, or when we do the dragon initiation in the workshops, that feeling is really very different. It feels like a timeless, endless, unconditional love, so that it's been around for forever. It'll be around for forevermore, and we can actually connect with them, that energy, whenever we want, and be helped and supported. Because let's face it, the third dimension is no picnic. I mean, there's so many, yeah, so many pitfalls. There's so many curveballs. There's so many everything going on. So much stuff is thrown at you, and when you can connect in with this beautiful energies of the dragons and realize how much they are here to help you, it blows my mind. And sometimes I actually say to my own personal dragon, gosh, you're showing off today, because that was amazing. I don't know how you did it, but that was amazing. So I tend to work with my personal dragon on any physical journeys, because I can tend to be, I can live in my head a little bit, or just above my head. So then when I have to navigate in the third dimension and get from A to B, I
Yeah,
feel out of my elephant element, and I can feel very uncomfortable. So I live in the UK, but if I ever have to take a trip to London, there's so many cars and people and different speeds and different everything happening. And if I set the intention with my dragon that it's going to be a smooth journey, and that my dragon will actually go ahead of me, and she tends to be about an hour and a half to 2 hours ahead of me in the journey, so that by the time I get anywhere, it felt like an absolute breeze. Everything just arrived at the same time, at the right time. It was really, really a very different experience to when I try get from where I am to London on my own. So it's very stressful. So yeah, I noticed that's a big difference with my personal dragon. And do you have any insights or fun anecdotes?
I have, yes. Similar sort of thing. I were a little while ago. I had to be somewhere at a certain time. I think I were on my way home from work, but I had to be somewhere, and there was no way I would have made it back in time. And I asked dragons. I said to my personal dragon, "Can you please help me with this time?" And I've never got home from work that quick. It took about, it usually were between an 18 and 25-minute drive, depending on time, and it took about 9 minutes to get home on clock. And I was like gobsmacked. I was, wow, similar sort of thing. I was just, because like you, I'm a bit up in air at times, and I feel ungrounded at times. So like they do help ground, and you get a little tap on the shoulder from time to time to realign you and say this way. You know, you're supposed to be going this way. So yeah.
Stop laughing, because it's just so funny when it happens, and so magical and so beautiful and illuminating. Really,
Yeah,
really.
it's like you said though, you've got to remember to ask, because for a long time I knew about things with spiritual stuff, but I weren't asking. And when now I've started to ask, this is again through doing this course and getting deeper into spirituality, the more you ask, the deeper your connection gets, and the more magic happens, the more you connect with them, with spirits and dragons and angels and all of them.
Excellent. I have the same experience, definitely. But one of the things I notice about some people is that they'll ask, but they won't allow the answer to come through. And sometimes people get very caught up in a vision in their mind of exactly how something needs to be. And if it doesn't show up exactly like that, then they don't believe that they've been answered by the dragons or by the angels and the archangels. So I often recommend that let them show you how it can be done, because oftentimes when we relax and allow it to show up the way source or divine plan wants it to show up, it's far better than we can imagine ourselves. And if we don't put limits on what they want to bring for us, we can achieve amazing things.
I'm guilty of that one myself, definitely. I'm just I've started to allow now a lot more, and like you said, I've noticed a lot more. A lot of things are coming in divine timing, and surprising things are coming through what I didn't expect. But for a long time, I think that's just a transitional thing for human beings, especially on the spiritual path. When you're in third dimension and you start to expand, it's just a learning process to start allowing things to come in. I think everybody who goes on this path will get there. It's just learning and trial and error and allowing, because I was guilty of that a lot of times, just thinking that things had to be a certain way. And then when it didn't show up in that particular way, I thought, and then I'd looked at the side and then it'd show up, and it'd show up in a different way to what I were expecting it to, but it still showed up, and like you say, even better sometimes.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. The divine plan seems to be much better than the plan we could construct for ourselves. So it's a little bit about our own conscious mind knowing where to go, but it's a lot about being free and open and allowing. So I'm normally got my hands firmly on the steering wheel, but actually it's quite nice to let go somewhere and to sometimes, and to surrender to what can come up and to surrender to the possibilities makes life more interesting as well.
It makes it more magical as well. You get things coming through that you never thought were possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just wanted to ask you also, Tom, how do you feel about opening the records for others? Do you feel that you get the right messages coming through? Do you get people saying that they resonate with the messages that you come through?
Yes, I think it's like every reading's different that I do, and I've had some people like crying at
Yeah,
on the end of call, and that to me that were a big one. It was like it resonated that much with this person that they were crying. The messages that just were confirmation that I'd done well, and I've had some good reviews and testimonials from other people that I've given good readings and information that comes through. I think again it's just allowing what comes to come, and just knowing that that's what's coming through, and just putting your mind to one side when you're doing a reading is very, very important.
yeah, and I find that actually very liberating, because if you were a psychic, you are kind of accountable for the information that comes through. Whereas when you're an Akashic Record reader, you're the vehicle or the tool or the apparatus that the guides in the 11th dimension are using to communicate through. So you're not responsible for the information. You just need to allow it to come through for that person.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It feels like it's like a different vibration to psychic work. Akashic Records, it's a lot more. It's as if it's coming from an higher. I know it is. It's coming from an higher place, so there's a lot more expansion there, from
Yeah,
what I've found. And it amazes me when you've never met a person before and you're on the other end of a Zoom call, and you're giving them information that there's no way you could possibly know. So that just confirms it to them. Even like when you gave me an Akashic reading for the first time, you told me things that there were no way you could have known answers to. So that made me feel comfortable, and I knew that it were real when you gave me the answers, what you gave me the first time you gave me a reading.
oh, that's excellent. I'm so pleased. And it's actually quite interesting talking about that, because often once I've given somebody an answer, I actually have to say to them, did they answer your question? Because I actually can't remember or have no knowledge of what I just said. So I just have to say, did they answer your question? And most people say yes, and then they go on to the next question. So yeah, so it's quite interesting to not be.
Yeah, that happens with me. That when I'm getting a reading, it comes through, and that's when I know it's like really in a flow state when you can't remember what you've said to someone, and then
Yeah.
sometimes you get an answer and it's a little bit like you're speaking as well. But the ones when it comes through and it's free flowing like that, like you said, you don't often remember what you've said to people.
Yes, there are times when the Akashic Record Keepers and Guides will tell me to answer a question from my knowledge base,
Mm.
because they'll say exactly what, but they'll hint that I know that and I can talk from my experience. And then there's times when they want to answer the question and I don't remember what I've said. So yeah, very interesting, very interesting. So yeah, very good. Um, I was wondering if you had to give somebody advice about starting this workshop or doing this workshop, what would it be?
Go for it, do it. If you're interested and it feels right, do it, because it's life changing. Even if you don't want to like progress to being a Akashic reader or anything like that, just because I didn't think I wanted to do that to start with. I just wanted to go into my own personal records and delve deeper into myself, and it just progressed from there. So it's even if you're just doing it for yourself, it's really good. It's like a tool in your toolbox. It's really important stuff, and there's no answer you can't get to any problem that you want. I've in my own personal experience.
No, no. Okay. So, well, that brings me on to the question, how are you going to use the Akashic Records in your future? Are you going to be an Akashic Record reader, or what's going to happen for you? What do you
Yeah, I'm going to be an Akashic Records reader. Yeah, definitely. It brings me immense joy to give somebody a reading. It just you can't explain the feeling that you get. It's completely different to doing it for yourself, I find.
Yeah,
When I'm going into my own Akashic records, it's like I'm doing it for myself and I'm in there, and it's a completely different experience to when I read for somebody else. When you read for somebody else, it feels like it's like a sacred thing, connection for me between you and another person, and you're delivering these messages from divine. And it's like you're being of service and you're helping them on their path, and it just gives me anyway a feeling of joy to do that.
wonderful. Wow. Yeah, I think I feel very similar to yourself in that sense that it is, we're serving humanity by being able to bring this information forward and to help people move forward in their lives. I definitely feel that. And at the same time, I seem to get so much out of it myself. I feel my life is forever changed because I'm able to do this work. Really, really exciting work. I feel very privileged and honored and
Yeah.
really amazed at all the information that we can access, that has been given to us, that, yeah, it's just, and also I'm quite interested that I'm not really the type of person who likes to repeat themselves ever.
Mm.
And yet, when I teach this work, obviously I'm repeating myself all the time, and I love it. Just blows my mind that I'm getting so much enjoyment out of the connection with teaching people, meeting amazing people like yourself.
Mm.
All the students that have come forward to do this work have just been really, really brilliant, amazing people. And the record keepers and guides, just before you joined the workshops, they were saying that they would prefer to have some more male readers because a lot of men in the world would rather have a reading from a man
Mm.
than from a woman, and that makes a lot of sense to me. So some people don't mind male or female; really doesn't make any difference. But I know there's a lot of sensitive issues. That some women prefer a woman reader, some men prefer a male reader, and then someone like yourself shows up, and there you are, presented to the world, ready to take on that job. So I think that's pretty
I
amazing.
think it is important to have a bit of variety because, like in my experience, up until this recently, it seems to be more a female world spirituality. So, like, we need to balance that out. I think,
Yeah,
and like you said, bring more men into it, and it's not like the more humanity is ascending, the more and more people are awakening up, and the more and more people are getting privy to this information and knowledge. And it seems to me like some people the people who come for Akashic Records are already on the journey a bit. They're not like brand new to it when they get to Akashic Records, because I think I was like a couple of years in before I even learned what Akashic Records were. And that word just like seemed to resonate with me. It seemed to strike a light bulb in my mind. in my heart in here, and I kept seeing this word everywhere. So then I went in then and started researching what it was, and then I just followed breadcrumbs and they led me to you, and it just went from there.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And I would say that I think it's probably your higher self that was leading you to this journey and showing you the breadcrumbs and,
Yeah,
guiding you towards that. And I find it's quite fascinating the difference between the higher self and the record keepers and guides. That there is quite a lot of difference. There's some overlap, of course, for sure, but there's also quite a lot of difference there. And I definitely find that the higher self is a lot more direct, more factual, and always in a hurry. Well, mine definitely is always in a hurry. But yeah, and then the guides seem to be very different. They are softer, more gentle,
yeah,
approach, and time doesn't mean anything to them at all. So you get, I work with both my higher self and connecting with the guides in order to make decisions, and I somehow just always know who to approach for which
yeah.
decision. Do
Yeah,
you?
that's a good insight, that, because some things, like on a more practical sense, your higher self is better to ask, and then when it's a bit more in depth and you need a bit more information, then record keepers and guides, 'cause they come through and they use different language. I know which is which straight away from language, what record keepers and guides use. So that's how I learned to decipher which for which. Because at the beginning, some like you said, there's an overlap and an overlay, and then it was like through that. Then I now if Akashic record keepers just come through without me actually opening records, and I'll know that it's them with message coming through for me. And like you said, like time doesn't matter. They've got more. It seems like they've got more patience and
Yeah,
more understanding, and they're a bit more gentle than
yeah,
myself.
yeah, absolutely. And they also, they are I think they've got more knowledge available to them when it comes to things that are outside of yourself. So your higher self is all about you, knows everything about you, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and can give you, yes, no answers in most certain circumstances. But I think the record keepers and guides have got all that access to, past lives of your family members and how that impacts you in this lifetime, etc. So I think that there is a lot more involved, like you say. I like the word that you used, in depth, much more in depth
Yeah.
answer, but higher self is.
I think as well, when you said that, when you can go into like things like other people in your life, family members, it helps you to gain compassion for other people in your life, and you stop seeing things like you don't see them as a person. You start to see other people as souls as well, and it helps you to broaden your horizons in that respect as well, I find.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's been a very big one for myself, certainly, to see what's going on behind the behavior of certain family members makes a lot more sense as well.
Yeah,
It's been easier to forgive that behavior as well because of where it's come from. So once you understand where it's come from, so much easier to forgive it and move on. And that is very healing and transformative, and it helps us to move on as beings. It helps us to move forward in our lives and our journey. So very, very magical, very magical.
it doesn't. It's another thing. It's like not once you've done it, once you've found out something, it seems to like so we're not moving in linear time. We're moving around, so it might circle back around again the same issue, but it's a bit lighter because you've forgiven it, and you might just have to do it again and just work your way. And it's just we're just spiraling up slowly and ascending. So it's a good Akashic record is brilliant for things like that because it gives you have more patience with yourself and you have more patience with other people around you, and especially with people who are not awakened as well. I find that when that it helps you have more compassion for them souls who've chose to stay asleep as well.
And that's the exact way I describe it. I say to people, you can either spiral up or spiral down.
Mm.
And the choice is always yours in every moment. Just like you can choose happiness, you can choose growth, you can choose whatever you want to choose. It is a choice, and you have to take responsibility for that choice, make that choice. And I would prefer for people to spiral upwards because it's just amazing, 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 life changing, beautiful experience. And spiraling downwards, I just don't see the point of it. It's just holding on to old, outdated stuff and things that no serve us. Really, really, I just can't see the point in it at all. And the record keeps and guides. That's why they've come forward now to help us to spiral upwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have to see it as well, though. Some people, their life's mission is to spiral downwards to show the people who's rising. It's because we're all here for a different reason, aren't we, as well? So it's like some people will stay there and they chose to stay there before they came here. So that helps ascension as well, but in a different way, because it helps to highlight certain things for other people. So I think like we're all doing best that we can in every situation, I find.
And that's very helpful to a lot of people that I have. They come for an Akashic Record reading and they say, this member of my family and that friend of mine, they refuse to awaken and I'm so worried about them and
Mhm.
all that sort of thing. But the advice from the guides is very much what you said. They are choosing to be on their path at the moment. They have a choice. We cannot, if we change that, then we'd be no better than the dark ones, because people should have free will. And if they want to spiral downwards, we should allow them to do that. They have their own journey to go on, and they might need to spiral downwards for a while before they're ready to spiral upwards.
I had to learn that lesson myself because when you first start awakening, you become privy to all this information. You just want to share it with other people, but some people are not ready to hear it. So that's the lesson that I've learned myself along this journey, along my own journey, to just not try and put what I believe on other people as well. So I've learned that one. So now I just let people be who they are, and they'll get there when they get there if they choose to get there.
Absolutely. Or if they notice, sorry, excuse me, if they notice that you're living this charmed life and that things are so much better for you, and they want to know why, then
Mm.
you can tell them. If they come to ask, how are you doing this? How is your life so magical? Then you could tell them. But
I think that is the way to do it. If you want somebody, if you like your family members, just for example, if you like, because in my family, there's only me that's awakened like this. So, but I've noticed now, like my family members, my sister, she's started noticing me, and I've noticed that, and she's changing her life. She's slowly but surely, she's coming into being opened up a bit more to spiritual things, and she's like progressing in her own way at a different level, but she's doing it now. But whereas before I'd be saying things to her and trying to encourage her to watch this video, watch that video, and she would be resisting it because that's where I learned this lesson with my sister. And then, but now I've noticed because I've stepped back and she seems to be doing it on her own now. So I think that's important to just let people be.
absolutely, I agree. I agree. And she's very lucky to have a very wise, awakened brother.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that the whole world is very lucky to have you as an Akashic Record reader. I'm very, very honored to have worked with you and been a part of you on this journey. And I really just can't wait to see what happens next for you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to leave it there unless you have any other messages for anyone or anything else you'd like to say.
No, I think that's it. Thanks.
Yeah,
No.
I think we covered most things today. So well done. Well done. Well, have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you.